It's almost done. Yes, I believe we are live. Let me just check. Yes, we are. Hola, buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Angelspeakers en español. Bienvenidos a Angelspeakers en español. Today, I'm very happy to have a very, very special guest. Her name is Teria, and I have known her for 2 years, and in a very special way in my life. 2 years ago, I started my awakening basically to consciousness, and I was guided to do an online course that was called Awakening the Ancient Ways. And this online 1-year course was led by Teria and Jocelyn Mercado. So that's the way I met Teria. And it was a wonderful experience to not only to have met her and Jocelyn, but to experience that online course. And later, if there is a chance, I would like to talk a little bit about that experience that I have and I share with Teria and other people in the course. But if we have time, we will do that. If not, that's fine. I can share it, I guess, in another occasion. El día de hoy está Teria con nosotros y yo conocí a Teria hace 2 años, en el año 2018, cuando tuve mi despertar a la conciencia y fui guiada para tomar un curso que se llamaba Awakening the Ancient Ways, despertando las formas ancestrales o los modos ancestrales. Y así fue como me interesó tomar un curso por 1 año que Teria y Jocelyn Mercado lo facilitaron y fue una experiencia muy bonita. Y esa es la manera en la que yo conocí a Teria. So after saying this, I would like to just give an update. Terry Angel is now driving to Indiana. Oh no, she was in Indiana. She's driving to Missouri today. And she did a land blessing this week. No, last Sunday, she did a land blessing in New York, in Long Island. And it was a beautiful land blessing that Terry did. And she will be doing another land blessing in Colorado. She's gonna make a stop probably tomorrow in Colorado. And in her time in Colorado, she's gonna do another land blessing. Terry Angel ahorita salió de Indiana y va hacia Missouri. Y después de Missouri, no sé si hará otra parada, pero tengo entendido que se detendrá en Colorado y ahí va a ser una bendición de la tierra. El domingo pasado, ella hizo una bendición de la tierra en Nueva York. Así que los mantendremos al tanto de lo que hace Terry en su Our Journey of Healing. We will keep you updated with what Terry is doing in her Our Journey of Healing across the country. Okay, Teria. Now, I would like to say some of the work that you do, and then maybe you can expand on that. Okay. So I know that you are doing you do dream analysis and dream groups. I have been aware of this since I met you. So I'm going to mention all of them. And then, whatever you would like to expand. For me, it's very, very interesting, the dream work that you do, because it's very new to me. And I find it fascinating. So dream analysis, dream groups are fascinating to me. You are also a spiritual mentor, depth psychologist. You do dialogue training. You do vision quests, retreats. I don't know if you do it at this time, but I'm sure that's something that you do, that you often do. Reconnection with nature, oracle divination and consultation. And you also do private sessions and couples work. So however you want to expand on this, the things that are new to me, kind of, is the dream analysis and the depth psychology. That all those things are kind of new to me. But in anything that you would like to talk about, to share with our audience, I'm sure they will be happy to hear about it.
Okay. Did you need to translate that, or are you going to translate after I speak?
However, I mean, I can, if you want
let me know.
If you want to say, a few things and then make a pause, and then I do translate, that will be probably a good idea.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Taria Ward. I have a PhD in depth psychology, and I'll explain that a little bit. And if you want to know more about what I do, you're free to ask questions. I believe there's a chat column and you can ask questions, but also you can look on my website. If I put something on the chat column, will they get that? So I'll type my website in here. It's tariaward.com. That's TAYRIAWARD.com. So you can look on my website and find out more about me and find out how to reach me if you want to ask me any questions. Or right now I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and I have a private practice where I do, as Lily was saying, I do dream analysis is one of the main sort of entry points to the work with me, but also spiritual mentoring and depth psychology. Now, depth psychology is the name given to the field of psychology that is attributed to Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud as the beginners, although there were beginnings before that. And certainly in the 100 years since their work, there has been quite a development of this field of psychology. And it has to do with the psychology of the unconscious, that which is not seen by the conscious mind or known by the conscious mind, but that gets communicated to us through the events in our lives. That we don't always understand why we have the emotional responses to them or why we have attracted them. And also the dreams that we have at night, visions, the ways that we are in touch with the invisible realm. A lot of that comes to us through what is called the unconscious, which is our personal unconscious as well as the collective unconscious. And so a lot of that communication happens to us through the events of our life and the dreams of our life. And there are so many ways to explore the meanings and the significance and the ways to understand what is being communicated to us. So that would be maybe a summary of what depth psychology is about. I went into the field of depth psychology because I was so interested in dreams. And before I went for my doctoral work in my 40s, I had already been writing down my dreams and working with them avidly for more than 20 years. And I was working with my dreams before I even knew Jung existed. So I can tell more about that story if we have time later. I'll talk about my journey. But yeah. Okay. So do you want me to stop there so you can do some translating? Okay.
Sure. Yes. Okay, wow. Yeah, I'm here like trying to keep everything together.
Okay.
Teria tiene un doctorado en Depth Psychology y ella puso su información en los comentarios de su sitio de internet para los que estén interesados en saber más de su trabajo. Teria vive en Asheville, North Carolina. I was there before, like it was 2019 when I was in that area. Ella hace sesiones práctica privada y también trabaja con los sueños. Análisis de sueños, como se le llama, en Depth Psychology. Esto está atribuido a Carl Jung, Sigmund, you say it, Taria,
Sigmund Freud.
Sigmund Freud, que fueron los iniciadores de esto. Y esto habla de la psicología del subconsciente y cómo es que ocurren eventos en nuestras vidas que atraemos a nuestras vidas. Y todo esto también se manifiesta con visiones en el reino de lo invisible, por decirlo así. Y Taria empezó a trabajar en el campo de Depth Psychology porque ella tenía muchos sueños y le empezó a interesar mucho. ¿Qué es esto de lo que se le llama Depth Psychology? Psicología profunda. Y dice ella que ella empezó a tener todo esto desde antes de la existencia de Carl Jung. So what you said at the end, Teria, of your talk is that you were starting to have dreams and all of these things related to depth psychology, even before, you said before Carl Jung existence, that's what you said?
Yes, and I mean, that was just to say that I went to get my PhD in depth psychology when I was in my 40s because I had been working on my dreams for more than 20 years. And when I realized that, I mean, there were some events in my life that precipitated it, but when I realized that I could learn so much more about the dream world by getting my doctorate in depth psychology, that's why I went. I just was emphasizing that was the main reason I went into these studies, and getting my PhD was because of my very sincere and long interest in dreams and what they're about and how to understand them and how to work with them and how to regard the importance that they have in our lives.
Okay, I see. Taria dice que ella a sus 40 años es cuando decidió estudiar el doctorado en Depth Psychology, porque ya tenía 20 años teniendo todo esto de los sueños y le interesó tanto que decidió tomar el doctorado en psicología profunda. Okay, Taria, thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, so please go ahead and share, I mean, anything else that you would like to share of the work that you do, if there is anything that you would like to share about, well, you talk about dream and depth psychology. What is dialogue training?
Dialogue training is, it's a system of getting people into deep conversation together, into deep sort of exchange of communication. It was developed by a physicist named David Bohm. That's David, B-O-H-M is his last name. And he developed this method for how to get into conversations where we listen very deeply to each other as if we're hearing things for the first time, suspending our assumptions about what we think the other person is going to say or is talking about, and listening in a very deep way, and finding voice for the kinds of things that we maybe don't always give voice to. So it's to get into a generative dialogue where we're listening deeply, we're finding voice for things that we sometimes don't always have a voice for, and offering respect to one another. So even if there are very differing points of view, we regard each other with great respect and listen very deeply, and 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 it's a way to understand the nature of thought and how thought lives in the brain, so that we understand what our defenses are, why we defend ourselves against someone that maybe challenges our thinking, or something that we have assumed is maybe a wrong way to understand or think about the world. If we listen to it with respect, how does that live in our body? Do we get anxious? Do we get angry? And then to work with that in a very honest way, so that we can get past our resistances to one another, or the ways that we beat up against the thoughts of one another and just say, well, I think this way and you think that way, and we're just sort of beating our thoughts together like this. Instead, we open up so that we can integrate our thoughts together, and it's a way to understand the sort of the oneness of all of us and the coherence among all of us. So I used to train, I trained in this method, and I used to teach it all over the world and also in college classrooms. And it's phenomenal, the things that you can learn by just opening up your thinking and allowing people to share deeply the thoughts that maybe you're not, maybe you think you would otherwise argue with, but it's a way of getting into the conversation where you're really listening and you're really exchanging ideas. I wish we did more of it in the public sphere instead of just beating each other down. This is the opposite of that.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Mhm.
it sounds very interesting. Um, so you work in your private practice with dialogue training. Basically, it could be with a couple that, let's say that there is a married couple that have problems, for example. Let's put that as an example. Then you work, it has to be more than two people, right? Like you don't work with one person in that. It has to be more than two people, so you can kind of know what is happening among in that conversation.
Yes, that is a really good question, Lily. Thank you for asking that. When I used to teach dialogue in the college classrooms, and when David Bohm created this, he said that the size of the group should be at least 16 people. He said because a smaller group like that, you just adjust to one another where you're very polite. But he says when it gets to be over 16, and he was a physicist, so he understood these numbers, I guess, you can't adapt to one another. There's going to be things coming into the field that are challenging you and that will cause you then to have the experience of needing to really respect and listen and find voice for what's happening in you, but with the ability to respect that everybody's having their own experience, and we honor that. So that's if you're really doing the dialogue process the way that he designed it, you would have at least 16 people in the group. I used to have 30 to 40 people in my classrooms. However, the methods and the skills that you learn for the dialogue process are really powerful. And so I have always used them in the retreats that I have. We'll have a session every day where we talk about the dialogue skills, and and so I teach them. And then and those might be groups of maybe just 4 to 8 people. I mean, very small groups and we would have a profound process of conversation and dialogue together. And since you said 2 people, when I work with couples in my private practice, I always teach the dialogue skills and have them listening to each other with using the same methodology. So it can be very helpful and very useful with just 2 people. And so there's different levels of how to involve yourself in that process of learning. And it's all about understanding the nature of thought, why we defend our thoughts as if our thoughts are us. Our thoughts aren't us. We're something other than that. So if somebody's challenging our thoughts, we think they're criticizing us. They're not. They're talking about thought, and thought isn't who we are. So if we can separate ourselves out from that a little bit, we can realize they're not attacking me. They're attacking a thought or an idea. And so you work with that thought or idea, but you don't need to feel personally affronted or insulted or afraid because somebody doesn't agree with your thought. So that's how to understand what thought is and what it isn't. It isn't us, it's something else. So it's a whole long process for learning there. Yeah.
And do you use at all that technique of the mirror? Like, whatever is bothering me from another person is because that is me. That person is a reflection of myself. Does that apply at all in that?
I don't know if Bohm necessarily used that idea of projection like that. I mean, I'm certain that he would have found it, very valuable to consider. I think more he would have said, if that thought that somebody, if it irritates me, why does it irritate you? And you go into your own process of why does that bother me? And often you will get to the point where you realize, oh, it's because it's something about myself that I don't love. And so I've projected it onto that other person. But often there are deeper experiences or stories that you'll find if you have the moments of reflection to know, why does that bother me so much? Because I can listen to a lot of people that don't agree with me, that have very different ideas, and usually it's fine. They have different ways of thinking, that's fine with me. But if one of them sort of irritates me and bothers me, then there's something I need to learn from that.
And I find it interesting that you are able to dig deeply enough to help that person understand why that is provoking him or her, and not having to go to a hypnosis or something to the subconscious. Like, you are able to do it just with the work that you're doing, that it's more in the conscious level kind of thing.
Well, that's a really good question. I would say in the dialogue process, we're not doing our own private individual work. We're trying to figure out the thought that is working in the field among all of us. So we're not doing our own work. The work of depth psychology, which works very well with this dialogue work, that I was doing them all sort of together, studying them all at the same time. So depth psychology would be really deeply personally going into the question of, why does that bother me? What are my stories around that? What are my complexes maybe around why that would be so uncomfortable for me to hold space for somebody to think like that? So that would be the private work of depth psychology, which is also what I do. Yeah. But in the dialogue process, generally, we're not doing our own work around it. We're trying to understand the thought and the nature of the thought. And then your private work is something that you can do on your own, and it's very good to do on your own outside of the dialogue method process.
Wow, that sounds very interesting, because I can imagine that people who are in that dialogue training, they are going to be very probably interested in going further and maybe exploring something in depth psychology with you, doing both. Like, it's expansive.
Yes, I mean, I think anyone who experiences the dialogue process has a lot to work with, and however they work with it, whether they do their meditation and their yoga and their qigong and their therapy or their depth psychology work with somebody like me who's trained in depth psychology. I mean, there's all different ways to work with what you discover about yourself in the dialogue process.
A lot of self-discovery.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to translate briefly this part, because otra parte que Taria trabaja con personas se llama entrenamiento de diálogo. y esta es a través de hacer una conciencia profunda de la comunicación. David Bohm es un fisicista y él es la persona que empezó esto, el fundador de eso. Y este entrenamiento de diálogo es básicamente acerca de escuchar a cada uno de las personas con las que dialogamos, escucharlas profundamente, quitando nuestras propias asunciones, nuestras propias percepciones y encontrar esa voz de cosas que no tienen voz. Y es todo acerca de respeto y de la naturaleza del pensamiento. ¿Y qué es lo que nos provoca a reaccionar hacia algo y asimismo integrarlo todo junto y pasar nuestras resistencias y llegar a integrar nuestros pensamientos, como dijo Taria, como oneness, integrarlo como uno solo y con coherencia. Dice que los entrenamientos de diálogo ella los hace en las universidades, lo ha enseñado en la universidad y que normalmente se hace al menos 16 personas. Dice que ella ha tenido hasta 40 estudiantes haciendo el entrenamiento de diálogo. Y también ha hecho como que grupos más pequeños que son como de 4 a 8 personas, que también funciona. Y dice ella que durante este entrenamiento, mucha gente luego se interesa en trabajar personalmente en sesiones de una sola persona, como se le llama one-on-one sessions, sesión de una sola persona para trabajar más a fondo con lo que hablábamos hace rato que se llama depth psychology. Esa es más personal, es de una sola persona. Pero ambas, el entrenamiento de diálogo y la depth psychology, que es la psicología profunda, están como interconectadas. Una es como más en grupo y la otra está enfocada a la persona en sí misma. Wow. No wonder why you study a PhD in this. It's so profound. Um, well, how do you work? I know I work with you in a vision quest.
Mm-hmm.
And I do see that you also do something that is called reconnection with nature.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, interrelated. But what is really what you do with the reconnection? I am just going to translate that word, reconnection with nature.
Sí.
Teria, sí. Gracias. We are learning a little bit, little by little. So, reconnection. Teria, when I do the show with Terry, she only speaks English and she's learning Spanish. As we do the show, she hears me speaking, and when we do the meditation, I usually, she pauses every few words and then, I speak slower. So she's catching words. She's learning Spanish as we are doing Angelspeakers in Spanish.
Oh, good.
So I was going to say, Taria también hace un trabajo que se llama Reconectando con la Naturaleza y nos va a hablar de eso. And she's going to talk about reconnecting with nature.
Bueno.
Bueno, sí. Okay. Bien, Taria or Taria.
Taria is how you say it. Yes. So the reconnection with nature is an important part of the work I do, in the sense that while I was working on my PhD, I had some really profound experiences where I got in touch with the part of myself that I felt was the indigenous person inside of me. And it was after meeting a very very powerful African shamanic man. His name's Malidoma Some. And it was after I met him in the early 90s. So that was a long time ago. I had an awakening then of what I came to understand really right away was the indigenous person inside of me who understood the world in the way that indigenous people understand the world. And once this part of me was awake, it was almost like I could see this civilized world that we had created was very much in opposition to the values and the wisdom and the way of knowing and understanding the world of the indigenous person. That suddenly I was set a little bit in conflict with the world as it's set up, the civilized, constructed Western mind thinking world. And so I began to work with indigenous people. I became very curious and very passionate about wanting to nurture that part of myself that was now awake and needed some guidance and need some help and some healing. And so I started working with indigenous people, and I did over the course of many years, maybe 20 years, worked with shamans from a variety of cultures, from central Mexico, who had been shamans from the Huichol community down there, and Lakota and other elders in that tradition, some from the South American, the Incas, African people, so my journey was long, and it led me to a variety of different teachers who worked in different ways. And my understanding is the indigenous person is inside of all of us. It doesn't matter what your lineage is in some sense. Our deepest lineage as a human is that we all lived in an indigenous way at one time or another. All of our ancestors did. So in our deep soul is this ancestry of having lived in this earth in a very indigenous way. It's only in the last few hundred years that our ancestors lived in the more civilized and culturated way, where they forgot about their connection with nature. So why did I feel it's important? I feel that it was important because all of a sudden plants had a communication and a way of talking to me. Animals had a way of talking to me that I could understand. The wind, the weather, all aspects of nature are communicating to us at all times. And as we civilized ourselves over the last few hundred years, we stopped listening to nature. We completely cut it off. We're only humans talking to humans, which is almost like a mental illness, because we are embedded in part of this massive community of life. And when we're only talking to ourselves as humans and not listening to the rest of life, we've lost our minds, because our minds are created in connection, in vital connection with all these things. And if we're not listening to it, if we're not communicating with it, and if we're not honoring and respecting and curious and interested about what it's communicating to us, then we're losing our way, which is what is happening now with climate change. That's why we can destroy the planet and not even comprehend that we're destroying our own self, our own life, our own possibility of living on this planet, and giving this planet as a viable resource for life to the generations to come, our own children and grandchildren. We're taking that away from them because of this disability that we have purposefully developed of not listening to nature and being in connection with nature. So to me, the reawakening of the indigenous self is about reconnecting with the voices and the powers of nature that are forever communicating to us, and how to be in dialogue. Now, dialogue actually even works with that too, in depth psychology as well, because it's all in the unconscious. It's how to listen to what comes to you through other methods other than the just frontal lobes of your, one aspect of the brain function. There's so many aspects of the brain function that can get all this information. So reconnection with nature, I think, is a vital necessity. I think dreams help with that. And all of these methods, dialogue and working with the unconscious, all of that helps with reconnecting with all the voices of the world that we're a part of and embedded in. We're made of the same stuff as the soil and the plants. And so my hope is to help humans get back to who we really are, and not some really limited version that we've created that is destructive to the rest of the world and to the possibility of survival on this planet.
And something that I remember when I took the online, the course with you, I remember you talking about that you communicate with nature, like with trees, like you hear words, like basically like that. I don't know that you hear words, but you are able to hear what they want to tell you. And that's so amazing. Can you tell just something?
I love, it's one of my favorite stories. So thank you for asking. I just love this story. I have a very dramatic story of being spoken to by a tree, which I'm going to tell. I mean, and this doesn't always happen to me. So this is just a dramatic sort of opening of my psyche. But I was on a 10-day vision quest. I had decided that I wanted to do a 10-day vision quest all by myself. I had an African shaman who was kind of holding space for me. He wasn't there, but he was holding space for me while I did this. And so I was staying out in nature all by myself for 10 days. And I'll just say it's amazing when you get out into the wild and you're just with the smells and the wind and the hawks and the birds and the, all the elements of nature. It's amazing how quickly you kind of forget about the world of people. It's amazing. I mean, it's this connection can be so alive so soon if we give ourselves the opportunity to just really deeply immerse ourselves in it. So about the third day that I was there, I was staying under an oak tree. I made my little campsite kind of thing. And I did it, in a very ritualistic way, which I do when I taught you when you did your vision quest. So I set my space in a very ritualistic way. So you're held in this space and it feels like the invisible spirits are with you, holding space with you. And all of a sudden I'm sitting under this tree one day and I hear the words come into your head. And I usually describe it, when somebody talks to you in a dream, you hear their words very clearly, but you don't hear it with your physical ears. You hear it, somehow in your mind. So it was just like that. It was like the words came very clearly into my mind. Would you get this off of me? It's irritating me. And so I heard those words in my mind, and it was very clear and very direct, and it was a request. And I thought, what in the world? And so I tried to think what this could be. And then I started looking around, and I noticed on the branch of the tree above me, one of the branches from way up high, maybe in a windstorm or some other thing, a branch had broken off and had fallen on a lower branch. And the branch was just sort of resting like a dead branch on this limb of this tree. And I knew instantly it was the tree asking me if I could get that dead branch off. It was really irritating it. And so I wrestled that dead branch off of the tree, and I heard the tree in the same way give this great sigh and say, thank you. So that was like a very dramatic moment of breakthrough. It's like that tree, and I think because of my commitment to be there and staying under that tree, and this was like 3 days later, it finally realized, I think I can get through to her. I think she'd help me here. So it can be that direct if we are willing to listen and to really reawaken that part of our nature. I think that it could be so nourishing and so interactively exciting to revive that part of ourselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, I mean, after being immersed in nature for 3 days, and you start just blending with it. After 10 days, you're probably just part of it and you don't want to leave.
Yeah, it was time to get back. I knew that, and that was good, but it was hard to leave. But it's the thing is that it was long enough that it's always in me. It's never left me.
Mhm.
And I did it one other time a few years later, 10 days. And that sort of solidified what I've came to understand and know. And so that sort of space is still available inside of me.
Mhm.
It's like I never left it, and it hasn't left me. So
Yes,
yeah.
it's part of you. And you live in we have a person in this platform called Enlightened World Network.
Uh-huh.
And she lives in the area where you live. She has shown videos of that area. It's so beautiful. You are just surrounded with beautiful nature over there. And the mountains, of course, the Smoky
Yes.
Mountains that I was able to witness. Um, well, we still have time. I just want to tell our audience before I translate what you said into Spanish. I know people like to ask questions or make comments, and right now, because of how our conversation is going, I have not stopped to look at the comments. But just please, I want to tell the people in the audience this: while we are talking today, I find it fascinating. So please, if you have questions, comments, even though I am not looking at them right now, we and Taria will also look at them. If there are questions that she can answer, please, this is the opportunity that you have to ask her questions, and she will be able to answer them. And if you want to know more, also, again, there is her information. But yeah, that's all. I just wanted to connect with the audience that is going to be watching now or in the replay. If you want to ask questions or put anything in the box, please feel free to do so.
And you'll have to let me know how to get to it, because I don't see anything in the chat column so I don't think
Yes.
I'm connected to it. So you let me know how to get to it. If they don't hear from me, it's because I haven't figured out how to get to it.
Yes, I will give you the information so you can find Enlightened World Network and Enlightened Living, because we are in 2 platforms right now in Facebook.
Uh-huh.
And I believe we are also live in YouTube, I believe.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to briefly translate what you said. Oh, when I have these conversations, I wish I had another person who could translate so I can engage in the conversation more.
That's fine. You're doing great.
Okay, so Daria habló de la reconexión con la naturaleza. Y ella dice que hace años en su vida ella se quiso reconectar con la parte como indígena de que está en ella, esa parte indigenous. I will translate it as indígena, but could that also be ancestral, or is a different thing to say ancestral or indigenous?
Well, it can be different. Sometimes ancestral means the ancestors that have lived in this world in the way that the enculturated way. So
Right.
the indigenous is those that lived in an indigenous way.
Indigenous. Entonces, Taria se quería conectar con esa parte indígena que tiene en ella y se conectó con personas, con una africano, un chamán africano. Can you say the name again of the shaman, please?
Malidoma Some, Malidoma is the first name, and Some, Some, is the last name.
Malidoma Some era un chamán africano en los años 90. Y por medio de esta persona fue que ella empezó a como conectarse más con esa parte indígena de ella. Y ella encontró que todo lo que está en nuestro mundo civilizado, como le llamaríamos civilized world, como que estaba en oposición con todo el mundo indígena. Y por medio de ella, esta reconexión con la naturaleza y chamanes, conoció a chamanes de México, los huicholes, los chamanes, los incas de Perú, también con la cota, con ancianos de la cota y también con chamanes africanos. Y por medio de todo esto, ella empezó a sentir mucha como sanación y como muy, como how you say, nurturing, como muy alimentada, nutrida en su alma, ¿no? Y, y aprendió mucho de todos estos maestros, diferentes cosas. Y dice ella que todos tenemos esa naturaleza, esa forma indígena adentro de nosotros. Es solo que en los últimos 100 años, en los 100 años o 200 años, nuestros ancestros poco a poco han perdido y hemos perdido ese contacto con la naturaleza, con las plantas, con los animales, con el viento, con el clima. Entonces, por medio de esta reconexión con la naturaleza, ella me dio un ejemplo de que hizo un Vision Quest, que estuvo en la naturaleza por 10 días y tuvo una conexión muy profunda con un árbol, que cuando estaba sentada ella debajo de ese árbol, escuchó como, por decir como palabras, pero bueno, no necesariamente, pero él escuchó que el árbol le decía que una rama de su árbol se estaba cayendo y que le estaba lastimando. Entonces, esto es lo que Taria nos comenta de la reconexión con la naturaleza. También les quiero comentar que ahorita no he podido ver los comentarios ni sus preguntas porque estamos en conversación y ya casi se nos acaba el tiempo. Pero por favor, si tienen preguntas o comentarios, déjenlos en la caja de comentarios y nosotros los leeremos y contestaremos sus preguntas y sus comentarios, porque este es el momento para hacerlos y vamos a, las personas que lo están viendo en vivo o que lo están viendo en la grabación, pueden poner sus preguntas y comentarios y Taria ya puso vamos a poner su información de contacto por si también quieren preguntar más cosas a ella. So, I don't think we're going to have time to do the meditation, Taria, but because the conversation has been so interesting that I would like to continue with that. We still have a few minutes. I know that you do a group, a dreams, it's called Symposium. Is it called Dream Symposium?
Dream Symposium, yes.
Yes. Can you please explain what that is for people who are interested?
Yes. Every month, Jocelyn Mercado, who also taught the class that Lily took from us, the Awakening the Ancient Ways class, we taught it for a year, and that's how we know Lily. Jocelyn and I also every month conduct a dream symposium where people from all over the world come to this. It's like an online dream group and tell their dreams, and we listen to the dreams. The way indigenous people always conducted their lives was to listen to the dreams of the people in the community, beginning each day, and that's how they still live, many of them, where they get up every morning and listen to the dreams of the people in the community, and that's how they know what's really going on and what the guidance is, what they need to pay attention to. It conducts their life. And so I have always wished that we could have that as a community of, modern people, that we could listen to the messages that are coming in our dreams that have a lot of value for the collective. So a lot of us have dreams that have a very personal message, but it also has a message for the community. And so those are the kinds of dreams that we listen to. And it's like, there's a lot of information coming through the dreamers that is very vital and very fascinating and very nurturing for all of us to know. And so we conduct it on a Friday for 2 hours every month. It's free. Everybody's welcome to come. If you go on my website, tariaward.com, there's a page called Dream Symposium. Go on that page and you can register for the Dream Symposium, and then you'll get the information of when it is and the links to join. You'll get all the information you need. And once you're registered, then you can get the recording afterwards and so forth. You'll get all the information you need about how to be a part of that community. So everybody's welcome to join, come and listen to the dreams, begin to understand the messages. You know, it helps you understand your own dreams just by listening to the dream language and learning the dream language together. Then we're understanding the messages that are coming to us through all the dreams of that day, but it also enhances your own experiences of your own dreams all month long, because you're really learning the language of the dream.
Yes, and of course, I can imagine that all the dreams are up to date, let's say, for whatever is happening in the world.
Yes.
So I can imagine, I mean, I would like to ask you, has there been a change or a shift since the pandemic started? Because you have been doing this before the pandemic. Has there been, or was there something before the pandemic that was guiding some of the dreams that are happening now? Or have they been interrelated, correlated, or has there been a total shift?
That's a really good question. You know, often I find the way the universe works, the way nature works, you know, whatever you call it, the way God works, you know, however, whatever your language is for that sort of universal mind, you start a practice and then along comes something in your life that then you realize, oh, I started this practice a year ago, and now it was like almost like it was prescient, like it knew that you were going to need to have this practice so that when this event happened, you're already there. You're already where you need to be. And I feel like the fact that we started the dream group 2 years before the pandemic hit, that we were already in stride with listening to the deep soul of the world. So it was like we'd already established a community and a practice together for a couple of years. Then when the pandemic hit and we're listening to the voices of the soul of the world in this way, it's like that's what we were, you know, we were given this to prepare ourselves for what will really help us through this process of the pandemic, is to really understand how to listen to the deep nature of our own being and of the collective mind and the soul of the world. So I wouldn't say the dreams have shifted. I would just say it's helping us now to understand life as a dream, you know, and what is this dream, this big dream that we're all having together of the pandemic. It's like it's all a big collective dream. And how do we live into what it asks of us, what it's trying to notify us about, you know, our connectedness, the way we want to work together, the way we need to simplify maybe our lives and learn, you know, really vital ways of living differently, maybe deconstruct old ways and establish new ways that eventually will help us be a more sustainable and viable species on this planet. So we're listening to and for all of that. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, it makes sense. Because when I started, I met you 2 years ago, actually, when you started the Dream Symposiums. I feel that me taking the course that you were doing kind of was really preparing me for something bigger. It really feels like that. That was really for me the starting of my awakening, and to see life so different now in many positive ways. So for that, I am very, very, very grateful. Okay, so the Dream Symposium you said is on Fridays. Which day, Teria?
The next one is actually a week from today. So what is that date? I don't have my calendar right
Oh,
here.
so today is the 9th, Friday the 9th.
So whatever a week from today is, what's that number? Would that be the 16th?
16, yes.
Yes. Okay. So that's the next one. It's 1 o'clock Eastern. If you go to my website and register, you'll get the link, or you can find the link right on my website and join us.
Yeah, and we will put it, I will make sure today, throughout the day, today, later, to put also, I will be asking you those to see if you can put that in the comments, to the information, or I'll do it. However you do it, or I'll do it.
I can do it right now. I've already put my website there, so I'll just write Dream Symposium. Okay.
Okay. You know what I'm going to do, Terry? I know I said we have a few minutes, but I think it will help me. It will be helpful, like maybe ending with a meditation. I think we can still have probably, about 10 minutes. So I'm going to put you in the screen. I'm going to get out of the screen, and I'm going to let you lead the meditation. And I guess once you are done, then we can close the program today. So that will give me time to look at the comments and to see if there is anything important.
Okay, and I'll lead a brief meditation. And do you want me to pull a card at the end of that too? From the tarot?
Yes, that will be wonderful.
Okay, so we'll do just maybe a 5-minute meditation, and then I'll pull a card and comment on it.
Sure,
Okay?
yes. Yes,
All right.
that sounds good, Taria.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so if everyone can, you find your way, be comfortable. It can be good to sit up with your feet on the ground and your spine really straight, but get in a comfortable position. And if you want to lie down for your meditation, then do so. So ground yourself to the earth. Recognize that you are part of this earth and feel that connection. Send your roots down through the root chakra, through the bottom of your feet, deep into the earth, and feel the nurturance of the earth coming up, the root system, into your being. Feel the electromagnetic connection that your body has with the earth. Feel it coming up from the lower extremities of your body, your feet, your knees, your hips, the lower chakras, and then feel it, all that energy in your heart. And then let that energy stay in your heart and throb and swell. And as it throbs and swells in your heart, send your heart energy out like a blanket across the whole earth. Let your heart energy, feel it going out in all directions from your own organ of your heart, all 360 degrees, behind you, in front of you, to the side of you, all around. Feel your heart energy binding with the heart energy of the whole world. Your heart goes out to this entire planet. And then pull that energy back into your heart. Now bring it all back. Now feel that energy like a ball of warmth and light, blood, nourishment, and let it rise now in your upper chakras. Feel it in your throat chakra, that you speak with heart, that you speak with heart knowledge and wisdom, that what you speak touches the hearts of others. Now raise that energy to your third eye center. And through that center, know that you have the capacity to see with different eyes, to see the invisible realm in a different way than the physical eyes see. Open yourself to see and be seen through this center. And now raise that energy to the crown chakra, the very top of your head. Feel yourself open to and connected with the whole starry cosmos, all the vast universe is available to you. We are made of stardust. Every atom in our bodies has lived in a star, maybe over millions of years ago, as part of the starry realms, and is now constituting this vehicle that we get to live in, this body of earth, this miracle of life. And know that we are made of the stars, and that starry eternal wisdom is ours, is who we are. We can hear it and listen to it. And now bring that energy from the crown chakra back to the heart and let it settle in the heart. Ask your heart to be open. Open to be communicated to and open to communicate. with the vast web of life. And now let yourself come back to your waking consciousness. Stretch your fingers and stretch your toes. As you're ready, open your eyes. Re-enter the space that you're in. Okay, so Lily had mentioned maybe pulling a card. So I have a tarot deck. I was guided in a dream many years ago to work with the tarot, which I would have never come up with on my own. The dream insisted that I learn this, and I have benefited so much by knowing this system. So I will pull a card and see what the message is for all of us now. It's like a waking dream. Huh, beautiful. It's the Ace of Pentacles.
The Ace of Pentacles. Okay.
Yeah, and so you see the picture there. It's like the hand of the divine holding this coin, which is the pentacles is the suit of our physical life and world, you know, the matter of our lives, our homes, our jobs, our bodies, our relationships, and so forth in the physical realm. So this is saying it's the beginning. Ace is always at the beginning, and it's like it's considered a lucky card. This one is. It's like we're beginning, you know, at this moment, begin a new path. Maybe you're going to, in this world, create new ways of living in your life in the material realm, like maybe new practices that you'll have of meditation or eating well, or maybe new elements to your job, new elements to your relationships, new elements to how you present yourself in the world. This is new beginnings. So focus on new beginnings and know that it's auspicious, that it's lucky, that there's good portent for beginning new things today.
Wow. Yeah, I was just gonna say, when you said the word new beginnings, I was just gonna say new beginnings.
Yes. Oh, good. You're feeling that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds it's a good way to end the program with a positive, something positive, like hope, you know, some kind of hope. There were people in the audience saying hello, so I would like to just say hello. Terry was here, the Terry, who is the one who usually joins me. She was here and she said hello. I guess she stopped on her way to say hello. And then Isabel Pracheta from India, and let's see who else. Laura was here as well. Thank you for being here. So yes, I guess we are done for the program today. I appreciate everybody who joined us today, and you know, I'm sure you are going to learn a lot from the session today with Taria. Taria, you are going to learn a lot with the conversation. And I want to thank you, Taria, for being here and for reconnecting with me. And, you know, I mean, we have been in touch, but reconnecting in this way is so important, because then you are able to share your gifts with the world and with the Spanish, our Spanish speaking audience, which is important. So I would like to have you again another time. There is so much to talk about, but if there is an opportunity in another week, I will sure contact you, and maybe there is more things that we can talk about. But I think today you talk about a lot of very interesting things. At least they are fascinating to me, and that I don't hear a lot of those things in my world. So I hope it will bring a light and a learning opportunity for many other people as well. Um, so thank you, Taria, again for being here with us. Gracias, Taria, por haber estado con nosotros y por todo lo que compartiste con nosotros el día de hoy.
It's a pleasure, Lily, and all blessings to anyone who's listening. I send my love and blessings to you, and it's lovely what you're doing, Lily, creating a program like this and a voice in the world in the way that you're doing it. And so I'm really happy to join with you.
It's our pleasure. Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right, Taria. Bueno, nos vemos el próximo viernes a las 3 de la tarde, hora del este. See you next week at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.